This is pretty good. Bitcoin mining outflows. And all this really comes down to is we had a couple of interviews. We had Ibrahim from CoinMine or Coin1 and CEO of a Bitcoin mining company over there in the UK or England. And he talked about how he's had a massive influx of these Chinese Bitcoin miners saying we need to set up shop over there now. And then the same thing happened with Winstone. Winstone's CEO came in, said the exact same thing over here in Texas. He said he's got just a massive influx of people saying, hey, we want to set up this Bitcoin mining operation today. Well, the problem is that the infrastructure can't handle it. And as these people start to move over, they're going to need this thing called money to set up all their different operations. And this is what's going on right now today. And my question is, actually, my statement is this. I think they sold a lot of Bitcoin in preparation for what they had to do with, which was their mass exodus. So here's what's going on. So according to the data provided by Glassnode analytics vendor, Bitcoin miners are hardly selling any Bitcoin at the moment. And there's this nice little graph which comes up right here. And I'm just going to blow this up so you can see it. Here's the graph from Glassnode, and good for them. So what it has here on the left-hand side is all the outflows of Bitcoin. So it goes from 0 to 6K. And then on the far right-hand side, we're going to see the price of Bitcoin, which goes, it's at 80K, but it hasn't hit there yet, obviously. And 60K, 40K, 30, all the way down, right? So as we can see, moving forward along on this line, massive outflow in 2016, up and down, 2017, 18, 19, 19. Not a big deal. And then we just see a huge drop off around May or June, moving into, this is in 2020. And then January, there was a massive sell as well because the price of Bitcoin went up. And I got to tell you, I should really be just following these Bitcoin miners. It seems like they seem to know when the right time to actually sell is. Food for thought. And then here's the price as it goes down. But you can't see my mouse, but right here where it has 800 and there's a big circle, here's the outflows right now of the miners selling their Bitcoin. They're not selling too much. And it is the 28th of June. All the selling happened about a month or so ago. We'll just say 3 to 5 weeks ago. And I think that's when all these miners realized, like, hey, the jig is up and China's going to crack down and we need to start moving. And they need to set to move operations, to move football fields worth of Bitcoin miners, pay for the infrastructure, pay for the employees, pay for the packaging and shipping of all the miners. It takes a lot of money. So they had to do it, get it somewhere, and that means they had to sell a bunch of Bitcoin. Well, all that's over because on June 20th, that was the deadline for these Chinese provinces to cut off the power supply to these Bitcoin operators, and they did it. And that's why we saw a huge reduction in hash rate. That's why we saw a huge reduction in energy consumption. And also we're going to see a huge reduction in the difficulty level. And I think this is great news because we had to go through that pain for them to sell everything and shut it all down to move it to wherever they had and then maybe set up operations. I personally don't care if they set up operations again, but and I'll get to that in a second. But right here, what we see is the selling of Bitcoin by miners, which I think was pretty massive, which could also have led to a cascade effect, is done. So in July, hopefully you have a little recovery. August, September, October, November, see a little bit more price action. Again, not financial advice, just financial opinion. That's just how I seize it. So that is the